Hello, everyone. It has been a minute, right? I know we have been super, super busy, but we're back. It's your girls, Sutton and Lace, co founders of the Flavor Room. And today we are celebrating doing our very first episode of Flavor Den. And that was last night, and it was spot on. You have never seen anything like Flavor Den. So if you don't know what it's all about and you haven't been in the loop and you didn't watch it, I'm going to tell you a little bit about it right now.
Yeah, so Flavor Den was absolutely amazing. And I knew it was going to be, but I didn't know how that was going to look like. And yeah, we knocked it out of the park, and so did our participants. So, what is Flavor Den? Have any of you ever seen the show Dragon's Den? Well, if you haven't, it is the UK's version of Shark Tank. And Lace and I were talking a few months ago, and this name just popped into my head, Flavor Den. And I wrote it down, and I was like, I don't know how we're going to use this later, but we are. So, fast forward to March, last night, Flavor Den. Flavor Den is a live business and leadership evaluation. So, we are taking three businesses and having them present their businesses based on three different categories, which are leadership, marketing, sales, and sustainability. And those three areas are a part of our legit business standards framework. So essentially, we are evaluating these businesses against our very own framework, which is so cool because often people talk about their proprietary method, their blueprint, their this and that, but you never see it in action. So we were able to do that live for the first time last night. It provided immense value, and it was amazing to see two brave business owners step up because this can be very exposing, right? To talk about your business and have your business kind of looked at and assessed under a microscope. But this is so important because, especially as leaders, you can't sit there and say that you're doing all the things and that nothing is wrong. Sometimes we're so deep in our businesses that we aren't able to see the outside of our businesses. And we need to have that perspective. And real leaders are not afraid to get feedback. They are not afraid to have someone tell them the truth. Often in the online space, people are running their mouths and saying, "Yeah, go girl, you got it." Well, yeah, you absolutely do got it. But that does not mean that there's not room for improvement. So that's what we got into last night. Told you what Flavor Den is and didn't really tell you why we did it, but I will touch on that now. We through this first round of Flavor Den because it is so needed, not only to demonstrate our standards framework, but to allow people the opportunity to have their businesses evaluated for real feedback. Not only are a lot of people afraid to receive feedback, a lot of people are afraid to give it, right? Because they're afraid of what that person might say. Will they lose business? What will it be like? Will someone have hurt feelings? Will people be crying? Look, the reason the world is the way it is because a lot of people don't want to stand on business and tell the truth. And this is how we do our part from a business perspective with Flavor Den, being honest with business owners, giving them real feedback, not an agenda, not to judge, not to shame, but to help them grow and accelerate, which is what I would assume most business owners want. So let's talk about the results, Lace.
Yes, what were some of the results that we saw in this very first episode? This is happening quarterly, okay? And we got so much from this first episode. So, we found some common gaps in marketing and sales, and we found a lot actually misalignment between words and action. Now, this is something you actually see a lot, but you might not clock onto it unless you're listening real good because people can chuck a whole lot of word salad at you and it sounds really nice. But when you start asking more questions and digging a bit deeper, that's when things kind of start to fall apart a bit. And it might even be that the person who's given the word salad doesn't necessarily realize, and that can be quite shocking. But we did see that misalignment. And fixing that is going to change everything. This is why we give feedback on it. It wasn't to embarrass, it wasn't to make anyone feel bad. We wanted to give you the truth and to help, because that's what this was. It was all about helping. That feedback is going to help you close those gaps and move forward in the way that you want to move forward, and come and do all of the lovely things that you say you're here to do. Those two things have to match, they have to be aligned. And if you're unable to see it, it is a blessing to have someone say, do you know what? That is not quite adding up. Let's fix that. So that's some of the things that we saw. We also saw some vague messaging. And messaging is one of those things I think that trips people up quite a lot, because they know what they want to do, but when it comes to what the outcomes are, it seems that there is a struggle there to really see what they are without it becoming a bit wishy-washy, or, oh, but there's so many things and I don't want to zone in too much because then I'm going to end up losing people. It's going to, miss people out. But what happens when you're not clear and you don't have that clarity in your message? You're not speaking to that one person. You speak to nobody, because everyone's like, meh, that kind of sounds like meh. It's not gonna grab them by the balls and make them run at you and open their Gucci bag and spray you in all their cash. That's what you want, right? So that was something else, or vague messaging. So we helped on that as well. And we also saw the feeling of needing to do everything, that complete and utter overwhelm, that, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm drowning, I'm burning out, I have to do all these things, I've got all of this pressure. And a lot of it is actually in your head. You don't have to do everything. There is no pressure apart from the pressure you place on yourself, especially if you're working for yourself. You haven't got a boss cracking the whip. You are the boss. So what are you feeling all this pressure for? So we saw a lot of that. And simplicity was lacking. There are so many layers of things that are causing all these blockages and bottlenecks and problems, and lots of complex systems going on, or having just lots of things going on and nothing's really making sense, when all you really need is a very, very simple bish bash bosh, this is what I'm doing, and stick to it. But we noticed there's a lot of listening to other people. Our participants already knew what it was they wanted to do. They already knew when they were being told, you need to do this, that, and the other, that, oh, that doesn't feel good, but maybe I should do it anyway, because they're the expert. They know better than me. I'm paying them. That doesn't matter. You know what you want to do. And they felt it. They felt what they wanted to do, but were still going against their own intuition and not trusting themselves, and then finding, hang on a minute, this is holding me back. So those are just some of the things that we saw. I think Sutton is going to touch on something that's very close to my heart about tech.
A couple of things. I want to backtrack here, Lace, because you mentioned the vague messaging when it came to outcomes. And there was a lot of talk about, oh, I don't want to guarantee things to people. Look, it's not about guaranteeing that they're going to, their life is going to change forever. It's not about that. Mm-hmm. And people get caught up in, oh, my promise has to be huge. It has to be moving mountains. Well, no. It just needs to be clear, and it needs to speak to whatever the problem is that your people want to solve. What struck me as very interesting when asked, what are the outcomes of the work that you do? And it was like a deer in headlights. And this should not happen, because if you are asking someone to pay you significant amounts of money, even if it's not significant, you need to know how that thing, that product, whatever it is going to help them. That's your responsibility. It's not mine. But it is my responsibility to ask you. It's your responsibility to know what that is. That's unacceptable. And some people may find that harsh. But again, how would you feel if you're on the receiving end of that? Would you buy a car from someone who has no idea what's going on with the car? They have no confidence in the car that they're selling, whatever, or whatsoever. They're like, oh, well, it may work. I don't know. I don't even know what brand or model this car is. I don't know if it's hybrid, electric, or diesel. Just buy it, okay? Just buy it from me. So why would you have that sense of entitlement and expect someone to do that for you with your products and services? Um, wow, simplicity. Yeah. What I found interesting last night was I have to do this, I have these things, and I have this funnel, I have 10 million lead magnets, and people are coming to me and they're doing challenges, and then they're going to come to me and they're going to listen to me speak, and then I have my book, and then I have this other thing on the back end, and ding, ding, ding. And then when you say, whoa, why are you doing all of this? And a light bulb goes off because no one has ever asked them that question. Why are you doing all of this? That's where we have to get to the leadership. Why are we doing these things? And does it even make sense for where we want to go? Or are we doing things because, well, so and so said I should do it? Well, what path are you taking your clients and your customers on if you're sitting in the driver's seat just saying, well, everyone else is doing it? Come on, y'all. Unacceptable. Yeah, let's talk about the tech. I don't want to mention the name of that tool here, but I'm disgusted with that tool and the fact that so many well-meaning business owners have been conned, and I'm going to say conned, into buying this specific tool because they do not need it. They do not need a complex system with all the bells and whistles, with all the rainbows and red carpets when they are a year or less into their business, even if they're a year plus, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. That tool you may not need until you are enterprise level. But what happens? You have people out there that con, and I'm going to say con, well meaning business owners because they white label that tool and say, oh my gosh, this is what you need. It's going to bring you in sales, girl. You're going to get them sales. You're going to get them leads. It's nice. And you're like, yeah, she knows what she's talking about. I'm going to go ahead and get this white label tool because everybody's talking about it. And then you get it, an immediate overwhelm because it's not user friendly. There's a steep learning curve, so much so that this tool has a certification program. So that's a cash grab for them too, because they're going to get these people certified to go ahead and sell to you and say, hey, you having trouble managing this really pretty tool? Hire me, I'll take care of it for you. So now you have two expenses right out of the gate that you do not need. You've hired someone to help you manage this tool that quite honestly does not know your business. Why? Because you don't know your business yourself. And then you're paying for this tool, which is not cheap. So that's eating into your revenue, right? Which isn't even stabilized yet because there's still things that you're trying to figure out with your business, but it looks nice, right? How are you going to have a business without the tool? Well, what were people doing 20 years ago, 30 years ago? What were our ancestors doing? Did they have some kind of fancy business platform? No. They didn't have social media either. They were out running their mouths, building relationships, talking to people. This is not to say you don't need to have a tool, to make things easier, but this is what we saw last night. Well-meaning business owners investing in this tool when it's causing them grief, causing them stress, where the first thing out of their mouths is, well, my bottleneck is this tool. Oh my gosh, you paid for this tool to make it easier. That's the promise of this tool, and it's not making it easy for you. There is serious misalignment there. I could go on and on about that.
I know, right? That boils my pee.
Yeah, and then again, all the tech and the funnels. Aside from that tool, having multiple things, multiple pathways for people to.
You're muted. Just a slight interruption to our usual program.
Producer here.
That's okay.
So you have all these tech and tools. None of these things talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have, like I said, all these multiple pathways for people to enter your world. But you haven't given enough time to even test each one of these to see if they work. So you don't really know which lever that you've pulled works to bring in people to your world, because you have multiple things going on at the same time that you are more than likely not paying attention to each and every one of them and how people are flowing into your world. Even though
while they're telling you to make a new one.
Exactly. Even though you have this fancy tool that's supposed to be helping you with that. So what's something else we heard last night? More content, more content, more content. I'm in this program. I need to make more content, more reels. I need to be on TikTok. I need to be on Vine. I need to be on Reddit. I need to be on Mars. All of these things, and the overwhelm comes in, right?
Yes.
No one's stopping to say, wait a minute. Let's do a business leadership evaluation. Let's ask you questions about your business, see where you are at. Right? A lot of people claim to be coaches out here, but don't know how to ask the right questions. Hey, now. They just want to pull out the credit card. That's the question. But asking those questions in order to guide people to a solution that is going to work for them. Vague blanket advice. Oh, you're not seeing the sales you want? Well, you just need to post more. When's the last time you went live? We had someone yesterday that doesn't even want to be on social media. In fact, their business model, their personality, their thought leadership is not well suited for social media in that way. And we asked her, well, why are you doing this? Because that's what I was told to do. So that's giving her stress, making her question herself, and it's not helping her reach the people that she needs to reach, because they're not doom scrolling. The people that she's trying to reach are not mass consumers of social media in that way. Had someone asked the right questions, they would have known that. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, why we are doing this. This ties directly back to our independently published research paper, Is It Legit? Redefining Equity, Leadership, and Influence in Online Business. It goes right back to that, because in that paper, we talk about influence. We talk about ethical sales and marketing. Is influence really about the slick branding and the slick marketing? Is it really about who has the follower account? Is it about who shouts the loudest? And from this, scenario that we saw last night, it would seem so, right? People suppressing their knowing, suppressing their vision for the sake of experts, that someone knows better than them, when that expert has not even taken the time to look inside that person's business, talk to that person, understand who they are, their goals, and their vision.
And what's going on in their life.
Absolutely. That yesterday too, didn't it?
It did. It did. That hidden labor of care and responsibilities. Do you have financial cushioning? How is your nutrition? All of these things, all of those hidden systems that I spoke about inside that research, these things are so often overlooked. But yet these are real things that are happening in real people's lives, real founders' lives. And they're just like, oh, don't need to worry about none of that. Just post more. No. And then what we have is leaders and founders who are feeling burnt out because they're trying to do a million things at once. None of these things they even want to do, but they feel like they have to do them because someone told them if they don't do them, then they're not going to get to where they want to go. And that has a knock-on effect with, their families, their sleep, their nutrition, their performance, their care and responsibilities, their wallet, and so on and so forth. And then we see people leaving, people deciding, maybe this just isn't for me. Maybe I'm not cut out for success. Maybe it doesn't look like me. Maybe it's not for people who have this invisible weight and burden that I carry that nobody ever bothers to stop and ask me about and find out if this is something that's actually happening for me. And you know what? Those are the people that are often the most talented, the most passionate, the ones that should be out there sharing their gifts and talents with the world. But instead, they're stepping back because they are being sold to in a way that is unethical, in a way that does not serve them. And they are being told what to do in ways that do not fit with the life that they have, that they may not be able to change. And in some cases, don't want to. They want something that fits with how they are and how their family is set up. And obviously, you can see that's something that really bothers me. It's quite close to my heart. And this is why I did that part of the research, to highlight these things, because these things are real. And that's why we created the framework that we have to address these things, because they need to be. Because if they're not addressed and we don't address them, who's going to do it? Nobody. So we're here to change things up. And what we were also seeing is not just the stress, but that sustainability is so often misunderstood, overlooked, or something that, it will just come together at some point when I reach, I don't know, maybe the 10K month, maybe the 20K month, when things just start to flow better, when I understand my CRM and I can use it, when I can finally hire that VA. No, this is the foundation. These are the foundations that we're talking about here. These are things that need to be in place now, right now, not in the future, not next month, not next year, not in 10 years time, not when you hit $1 million day, now. Otherwise, you ain't going to get to that $1 million day, however many weeks, months, years down the line, because you'll be burnt out, dead, finished, and gone long before you get there. And you don't want that. And what we see is founders often running on convenience, on coffee, on more takeaway than they would like. And it's, but I don't have the time to cook, or it's just easier to do this. And there are ways and systems to be able to make sure that you are nourishing yourself and your brain and your body, so you can go out there and lead, so you can go out there and make the decisions you need to make, and that they're good decisions. Because when you're not eating right, your brain ain't firing right, your decisions become poorer, you can't get up and do the things you need to do, you end up being more sick, you end up taking more time out, and then again, we're back at square one, not moving nowhere, and you've got to start over. And then you get to the point of, do you know what? Maybe this just isn't for me. And it is for you. I don't want to see you be quitting over these things, because these are things that we can fix, and we can fix them right now. And they don't have to be hard or time consuming. It's just a mindset shift and shifting those habits. But yeah, I'll get off my soapbox now, Sutton.
We both had soapboxes, so it's all good. But we also saw, Lace, a lot of passion and desire to do good in the world with lived experience and skills. And I want to pause here, because this is a pitfall. And some people may not agree with me using that word. I don't really care. This is a pitfall for a lot of women business owners, because that passion, that fire is not enough. You got to have stuff in place. Just saying, well, if I can dream it, I can achieve it, and I'm really passionate about this, there's got to be another side that balances that out. So it's one thing to be passionate, it's another to be able to speak to that passion clearly, confidently, and strategically, in a way that other people can understand what you are putting down, and you build that authority, but you also have other people that want to come into your world and work with you. So that's something else we saw. We saw the passion, we saw the fire, but there was also, as you mentioned, that misalignment between the integration of learning, the systems, the strategy, taking some of the emotion out of it. Not every aspect needs to be emotional. You want to be able to make those quick, potent decisions, especially as you grow your business. You're going to need some of that. So it's not about changing who you are, it's about developing your skill set for business.
Absolutely, yes. See, it's like a puzzle. You've got all these pieces and you need them all. And that doesn't mean you have to do all of those pieces in a certain way. There is not a blueprint to making all this work. You can take all of these pieces and do them in your own way, but you do need to be clear. You do have to have that clarity. Your messaging does need to be understandable by the people that are looking at it from the outside. But all these pieces, you get to do them your way, and that's the beauty of it. And when you start listening to whoever it is that said, nope, this is the only way to do it. The only way to go out there and sell your thing is to go post stories 1 million times a day. And if that doesn't feel good to you, that is not what you should be doing. I don't care who they are. You need to trust yourself and listen to yourself, but you also need to have those pieces in place so you can go and do all of those things. Otherwise, you're literally building on sand and you're not going to get to where you want to be. And we want you to win. That's simple. We want you to win. That's why we have done Flavor Den. It's free. You come, you present, you get the feedback. If you can receive it and apply it, you're going to be better than when you started. That can't be a bad thing.
Yeah. So we'll be running Flavor Den again next quarter, the end of June. The focus is going to be a little different, but the foundation will still be with our legit business standards framework. So you don't want to miss that. If you want to watch the replay of last night's Flavor Den, the link for that will be in the comments, and stick around. You know, we got a lot of stuff in the pipeline, a lot of things that we are working on, and we're doing what we need to do. So stay in our world so you can be a part of that.
Absolutely, yes. 25th of June. Put it in your diaries. That is the next Flavor Den. And once I've updated the link, you can go register for that so you don't miss out. Until then, keep listening, keep watching. Like Sutton said, we have stuff brewing, and we'll be back. Speak to you again soon.